Now everything is kind of going towards more short form content. So YouTube Shorts are huge nowadays. Taking things from like viral videos and putting it with cubing is honestly like a really good strategy to go with. And at the end of that day, I was like, this is like so unhealthy. I cannot be like continuing to check this, stupid little app. I think it got to a point where if I were to just not go to college and just do YouTube full time, I would be able to like live comfortably and like sustain for myself. Yeah.
Before we get into our interview with Cubing Encoded, I would like to thank the sponsor of this episode, Cubes UK. If you're in Europe and you're looking to buy the latest cubes, I would highly recommend Cubes UK. They stock everything from WCA to non-WCA, cube mats, timers, and even spare parts. They're also the only cube store in the UK with both the Cubicle and Speed Cube Shop lubes. Shipping is fast, and to help the planet, they're using completely renewable packaging. To support the channel, use code CRITIC5 to get 5% off your entire order, or use the link in the description. Thanks again, Cubes UK, for sponsoring this episode.
Alright, hello and welcome to the Cubing Couch.
That's the name of this podcast? I didn't even know that was the name.
Oh, alright. Yes, it's called the Cubing Couch, which is like, it's supposed to be like a really nice, chill, laid-back podcast.
Well, it doesn't seem like that's the case today because right now we're kind of in like the middle of the venue with two little chairs. So I'm not sure if this is a couch, but we could call it the Cubing chair.
Yeah, true. So right now we are right in the middle of a UK Championships 2022. So I'm here with Kevin, aka Cubing Encoded.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, honestly, UK Championships have been absolutely fantastic so far. This is actually the biggest competition I've ever been to my entire life. So, yeah, I've never been to a nationals before, never been to like a world. So this is like, quite a bit larger than what I'm used to. And it's really, really cool just because, I was able to kind of show my friends like what the competition was like. I had a friend over last time and yeah, they thought it was really cool. It honestly just seems like way bigger scale and makes cubing look, really, really cool to my friends at least. So yeah, like, honestly, this competition is held really, really well. What do you think about it so far?
Yeah, both me and Mo, who's off camera at the moment, are really enjoying the comp so far. I scraped into second round for 3x3, so I was 200th. I keep bragging about that because Mo didn't make it through. But I was like the slowest person to get through, so I was quite happy about that. A lot of people are thinking you're from the US, right? Yeah. So what is it that you're doing in the UK?
Yeah, so right now I'm studying business at UC Berkeley, just one of the colleges over in California, and they have this international business program that I'm part of. And so part of this international business program means that you're taking a semester abroad in London. And so this is my semester in London. I'm staying there for around 3.5 months. And yeah, it's honestly like a really amazing experience, just like getting to, talk to the people, like just learn more about the culture here, and just traveling around. And so while I was here, I thought, you know what, why not just try going to a UK Cube competition? So check the WCA. I saw UK Champs and I thought, this is a pretty good one to go to if I were to go to a cube competition in the UK. So yeah, I've been traveling every single weekend basically, but this one weekend I decided, why don't I just come up to Coventry and participate in this competition. It's been honestly like a great time. I'm so happy I came here.
Yeah. It's definitely a very different experience too in the US. UK has just like its own vibe to it, I guess.
Yeah, its own energy. It's interesting actually, just because I think that like the people themselves are actually like very, very similar. Like I kind of get like, I hear the same like type of jokes I hear as like the US, like the same like dumb little cubing jokes I hear in there. But then I feel like a difference though is that people seem to be a lot more, I guess, aware of like the cubing scene in the country. Yeah. So in the US, I feel like because it's so big, no one really knows what like anyone is doing. It's kind of like more secluded towards like each own competition in each community. Whereas like here, like everyone kind of knows like the best cubers in the UK. Everyone knows like the UK national record holders and everything. And so people just kind of seem to know like, what's going on within the UK cubing scene. And people also seem to like know each other as well. So it was interesting. Like when in the US, no one really knows each other going into a competition. So everyone kind of like comes together and meets together, at least in my experience. Whereas here, everyone basically knew each other. So it was basically just me integrating myself into the scene, which I thought was a really, really cool experience.
We obviously now know a lot about Kevin Lee, but how would you describe Cubing Encoded?
Cubing Encoded, I guess like in terms of like the channel, like where do you want me to start?
Someone who doesn't know who Cubing Encoded is, how would you describe yourself?
I would say it was a mix of different things. Is like as like the years continued going on. So it first started as like an unboxing channel, a really, really bad one with someone just like filming with their phone, and it honestly just wasn't the best quality. As it continued going, got some more confidence, got better cameras, and so I was then like a strictly like review only channel. I did have a little phase in like 2018, 2019 where I was doing more so like commentary videos as well as like talking about just things that annoyed me within the community. It was a little bit more cynical for a little bit, but I was having fun with it. Honestly, I had a really good time just showing my personality a little bit bit more. And then more towards 2020, that's when quarantine happened, and so that's when my channel really grew. And so I think I was around 50,000 subscribers starting off then. Then I uploaded every single day for 5 months and got to 130,000 subscribers in a little over like 7 months. And so I was able to hit all my goals. It was a really cool opportunity. And yeah, ever since then, like, I just been uploading here and there. Now I'm at like 240 something thousand subscribers. Really happy with everything I've been able to achieve with YouTube. But yeah, if I were to describe Cubing Encoded, it started off as just a review and unboxing channel, and now it's just a general like. Then it became a general just like me commentating about what I thought about cubing, as well as like trying different challenges. And now it's basically just a channel that I could just do whatever I want with. I had that audience, and yeah, it's just kind of there that I could have as an outlet whenever I want to.
Yeah, very thorough description there. Fair enough. Before we go into that really like strong daily grind that you mentioned, let's do a quick 30-second Q&A.
Okay, go.
So Mo's on the sideline with 30 seconds, and it's just gonna be a bunch of rapid fire questions.
Okay, let's do this.
3, 2, 1, let's go. If you were stuck on an island with just one cube, what would it be?
It would be the MGC 6x6. I love that cube.
What is your favorite cubing video?
Your cubing video? I think it's probably just something that Chris Olsen made, probably about Felix Zemdeg's. Yeah, I think Felix Zemdeg's the greatest speed tuber of all time, that video.
So what are you studying? I think you've mentioned this already.
Yeah, business administration.
Felix Zemdeg's or Max Park?
I gotta go. Max Park is from my area, but I gotta go with Felix, like the OG, you know what I mean?
Okay. What is your favorite cubing event?
6x6.
Definitely.
That's all we have time for, unfortunately.
Really? Yo, I had a whole list here of stuff and we didn't get to it.
We could do it at the very end if you want to go rapid fire any other time.
You do talk very fast though, so you did manage to get a lot in there. So that was our little icebreaker there. So let's start off with right at the beginning. So why the name Cubing Encoded?
So Cubing Encoded was derived from my Minecraft username called Secrets Encoded. That was just my gamer tag, and so started the channel. Secrets Encoded went to Cubing Encoded, and I feel like it's pretty catchy at this point. I like it quite a bit.
Because I'm pretty sure your email is still Secrets Encoded, so like you've kept that for all that time.
It is, yeah. Like that's like my business email, and I've kept it like Secrets Encoded. But then I actually do have a Cubing Encoded email address, but then I was too lazy to like switch everything over there, so I just made it Secrets Encoded.
Yeah, it's quite complicated and a bit awkward.
Yeah.
So what motivated you to get started in YouTube?
So what motivated me, in the beginning, I will admit, it was kind of more for the more flashy aspects of YouTube, right? So I guess like, being sponsored, having to go to competitions and people knowing who you are, kind of the more like, I guess, it's a little bit more artificial and a little bit more flashy, and I don't think it's the most valid reason to start doing YouTube. But as I continued doing it, I was just like very much involved in like just making videos, and I found that I actually loved it. So the more I made videos, the more I loved it. The more I edited it, the more I wanted to do it, and I just continued doing it based off the passion. After a couple like months into it. So yeah, that's like basically what kept me going.
Fair enough. I think a lot of people are getting into YouTube now for like, they're seeing a lot of the big people at that, and they're like able to bring in so much like revenue, fans, like that kind of stuff. And that's not, I wouldn't say that's a bad reason to get started, to be honest, because a lot of people are still doing it right now. But yeah, fair enough. I mean, a lot of people are still doing it for the views and the subscribers and the money that comes along with it.
For sure.
What was YouTube like? So you started in the 2015.
2015, yeah.
How was YouTube like when you started?
YouTube is different just because I think that now everything is kind of going towards more short form content. So YouTube Shorts are huge nowadays, as well as YouTube was a little bit more like flashy. I call it kind of like the Mr. Beastism of like of YouTube, which isn't a bad thing. Like all the content's really good, but it is very much like tailored towards like retention. Whereas I think back in 2015, it was very much tailored towards just like a little bit more heart, a little bit more passion. And for cubing specifically, it was all about reviews and unboxings, and that was really like the only type of content out there. Like the biggest guys, JR Cuber, Crazy Bad Cuber, those type of guys, they all just did reviews, unboxings, and that was kind of like the scene I entered.
So what YouTubers did you look up to at that point?
Yeah, I would say definitely JR Cuber. JR Cuber was honestly who I modeled my channel off of when I first started, for the longest time actually. I remember literally watching some of his review videos and like, you know, like seeing the way that he formulated his script in terms of the video, and then trying to make my script structured off of his video. And then so he kind of started off with like, you know, like the basics, and then going into the like the turning or like the unboxing, and then kind of like talking about like last things. And then so I would really structure like my videos based off JR Cuber, just because I love his videos basically. And then I also really looked up to Side of the King, just because like he had the really amazing video quality, and I just like loved like the personality that he brought into his videos as well. So those are like my two biggest inspirations for starting.
Yeah, I definitely feel like JR Cuber like set the foundations of cubing YouTube. Like people are still using his formats
Exactly.
to this day for like reviews and unboxings.
And the funny thing is that like his format was also, and I think he talked about this, one of his biggest inspirations was like Marquez Brownlee, like MKBHD.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of funny how, you know, like the way that MKBHD reviewed phones, kind of he took that and did it for a lot of cubing, and now that's kind of like the baseline of how everyone does cubing reviews. So I found it like to be an interesting evolution.
I mean, what sort of people do you watch nowadays?
Nowadays, I don't really watch too much YouTube in general. I am into like a couple people, so there's like guys like Ryan Trahan that I'm really interested in watching. A couple like true crime videos. I'm honestly just like a big like sports fan, and so I'm mostly just watching like sports like interviews, sports clips, sports news, honestly. And so that's like what I spend the majority of like my time on YouTube nowadays on.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people aren't taking inspiration from places outside of cubing. A lot of cubing channels are watching other cubing channels, and they're not looking outside that like bubble. So it's good that you're watching other channels, not just cubing videos.
For sure. And I think it's important just because I think it's easy to stay inside like the cubing bubble, whereas like when you try to take inspiration from the more like mainstream YouTubers, you could use that and combine it with cubing to make something really cool, right? I've been seeing that with a few people where some of the most popular cubing videos are videos derived from, you know, those type of videos. So like Expectations versus Reality, that's one of my most popular videos, and that's completely derived off like, you know, the 2014 2013 like skit videos that used to go viral back in the day. So you know, I think it's just like taking things from like viral videos and putting it with cubing is honestly like a really good strategy to go with.
So you mentioned when you started out, your content wasn't as high of quality. What sort of content were you making in those days, and how did it look relative to everyone else? So
it was super all over the place. I think that I was just excited to like broadcast my passion for the Rubik's Cube when I first started, right? So it was like anything I get my hands on, like if I was reviewing, if I unboxed a cube, for example, I didn't really care about like the actual quality. I just wanted to show people that I got a new cube or whatever. If I got like a funny solve, I would post that. If I got a fast solve, I would post that. If I got a gigantic pop, I would post that as well. It was really just me like just broadcasting my passion for the Rubik's Cube, honestly. So, and everyone else, I would say that like that was kind of what a lot of YouTubers did when they first started off, honestly. They kind of don't really know what they're doing, but then after a while they kind of get on a good, you know, momentum and start, you know, actually getting like real cameras and start making real videos. As you can tell, we are in the middle of a competition venue, so.
So what brings you the most joy in cubing?
I would say when I first started, it was the community. Like I absolutely like loved the cubing community, and I, you know, had a bunch of friends in it. I, you know, went and watched tons of cubing videos and like interacted in a bunch of the comments. Nowadays, it's really just like the actual like practice of solving a cube. Like that's like what I actually love about it now. You know, I'm honestly like pretty disassociated from like cubing community in general at this point, where like I'm not really watching cubing videos. I'm not really like keeping up with like what's new in the community. Not really buying new cubes, but I'm still cubing a ton just because the actual like, you know, action of solving a Rubik's Cube is just so stimulating to me and so fun that I still do it for hours a day. Like I honestly cube nowadays just as much as I ever did, but you know, I just don't really know what's going on in the community. But it's more of a personal thing at this point, right? Where now it's more so just like my personal like just passion for the Rubik's Cube.
So now we're gonna see how well Cubing Encoded knows himself. So I've got a few questions here about your YouTube stats. I'm gonna see how well you know them.
Okay. If it's anything from like 2015 to 2020, I might be pretty good at it, but if it's anything in the last couple years, I'm not too sure if I'll know too much about it.
Okay, let's have a look. How many views do you think you've gained in total?
50 million views.
50 million. So it's 49,300,000. So it's very close. I'll give you that. How much subs do you have to the nearest 1,000?
I think it's 244.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Keeping a very close eye, I see. So what is your most popular video?
How to solve Rubik's Cube in 5 seconds.
Yeah, you know that. You're confident about that one. How much views do you think it got?
I think it's at is that 12 million right now?
It is 12 million. Yeah,
okay, perfect.
He's doing really well at the moment. What is your most popular shorts upload?
Now
that's a bit harder now.
I do not know. I'll have you think. It might be like like big Rubik's Cube versus small Rubik's Cube, and it might have like 600,000 views.
Ooh, I'm not sure how many views it has actually. You got one step further there, but it is the biggest versus smallest 3x3 race. How many uploads have you done so far?
470 something, 474 something like that. Or
It's actually 477. I don't think we can give him that one.
No, that was
and
close
then
enough.
What year did you join? I think you know this one very easily.
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah. 6 out of 7, whatever percentage. I'll put that up on the screen somewhere.
Not too
But
bad.
that was a really strong result. So you take a really close look at your analytics then.
I would say that when it comes to day-to-day analytics, I used to check it honestly like every single couple hours or like every hour. Back when I was like really into it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like nowadays, I'm checking maybe like once in every morning or like once every 2 days. However, I do know like the big and like small ones just because, or like the big stats just because I've been like recruiting a lot for internships, and then so on my resume, like, or like if I'm doing like a creative portfolio, I need to check what like actual numbers are so that I can like put them on like my application sometimes. So that's why like I know like pretty closely what my subscriber count and view count is. But yeah.
And I feel like a lot of creators are constantly like refreshing the page on YouTube Studio and stuff like that, because it forces you to like, it almost makes you feel discouraged if you haven't made a video that lives up to their predetermined metrics.
I agree.
So like for example, if you get your most popular video within the first 10 that you've done, it comes up with like confetti and it's like 1 out of 10. And then when it's a video that isn't doing as well, it's like grayed out, downward arrows, 10 out of 10. Like it can be quite discouraging for people who do check their analytics very often.
Yeah, and it's honestly just like a UI UX thing, but honestly like I did get very like encapsulated into like the YouTube analytics. Like, yeah, like one time I remember there was a day where I literally checked it like every single like 20 to 30 minutes, and at the end of that day I was like, this is like so unhealthy. I cannot be like continuing to check this stupid little app that just tells me whether or not I'm doing well or doing badly, just because it gets really unhealthy when you only focus on numbers. And I think that like it's really easy to get wrapped into that when you see something like 1 of 10 versus 10 of 10. Yeah, it's really interesting.
It is, yeah. So what advice would you give to people who are in that position you were before, looking at the analytics, worrying too much about how much percentage view duration or like random YouTube metrics that they're getting? What advice would you give to them?
I would say it's really interesting just because it's so easy to fall into the trap, right? But I think when a lot of people start, it needs to just be just for like the pure passion of creation and like building a community and making content, right? Like that should be like the only reason. I think that the second you start getting swept into like the YouTube game, like the numbers and metrics, you start to burn out really quickly, and you also like just don't create very genuine content. And I think that's like it's super easy to get to run down. Like I think when you first start, it's very like simple. You think, oh yeah, I'm just doing it for the passion. But the second you get a video that gets, let's say 200,000 views, right?
Yeah.
That's like your first like big hit. All of a sudden you're like, okay, like shoot, like what did I do in this video that I want to apply in next videos, and maybe I could get that again. And then you get a bunch of comments saying, oh, I want more of this. And then so you think, oh, I'm doing the right thing. So you try replicating that video to make another one that gets like 100,000 views now, and then you keep on doing it. But then eventually that trend's going to die, and then so you need to find a new type of video that's going to give you that same high that first video gave you. I think it's like a really easy trap to fall into. And honestly, like I think for most creators, you're going to fall into the trap if it does end up happening to you. But I think it's just like having that good balance of work and life. And honestly, like I can't really give too great advice just because like I totally got like sucked into like the YouTube number game and everything.
Yeah.
And I definitely got completely involved in it where I did burn out quite a bit. And so it's just something that you have to be very wary of. And when you first start YouTube, you have to like really know your priorities and why you want to start. I think too often people want to start for the numbers, and I just know that they're going to burn out really quickly if that's the case, right?
We've been trying to get a hold of Cubing Encoded for quite a few days now, and we initially had the idea of having this like massive production, like all the cameras, the tripods, whatever, all placed like exactly where we want it. And then Kevin, of course, like was like, oh, let's be a bit more resourceful, try and get something to work. And that's something that I found quite inspiring, actually. Like, despite the channel of your size, you're still really resourceful with how you make the videos. You tend to be quite minimalist sometimes as well. So that was quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, I think with that one in particular, it's really just like whatever it takes, right? Like I think that like if there's a situation where we need to make a video, but we don't exactly have a very ideal setting, it just, whatever it takes, right? Let's find a little corner, let's film something really quickly, let's not make it more complicated than it needs to be. That's just like always been my mentality. And yeah, like that whatever it takes mentality, honestly, is what like got me through daily uploads, for example, right? So, it's 3 a.m. I have a video to make. I still haven't made a video that night. I need to go to sleep, but I need to do something, whatever it takes. Just film something really quickly, edit it. And sometimes it doesn't always lead to the best quality. I have to admit that. Although I think it's just a personal thing that, I think moving forward, having that mentality of whatever it takes to complete a certain project, like that's helped me with like work when it comes to academics or like professional opportunities, and it really has just like helped me in all ways.
And I think there's a lot of people that are like, I don't have the equipment I need to record, so I'm not going to record, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that could actually start a YouTube channel like right now. They have everything they need, but they're deciding not to just because it's not to the standard that they're so used to seeing on YouTube. So the way you kind of made your channel around, I have to upload no matter what, that was quite interesting to see.
Yeah, it's kind of like the trap of perfectionism, just because when you always want a perfect product, you're never going to get started, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that there's this like mental barrier that like stops a lot of people from actually getting started in the first place. Whereas when you allow yourself to say, you know what, like whatever I'm going to make, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be flawed, but I'm going to learn from it.
Yeah.
That's honestly so much of a healthier mindset. And with people who like still haven't started, even though they say they want to start, but they just don't have the equipment, my mindset, my thought towards that, just like if you wanted to, you would, right? Like if you really, really wanted to, you would have already, right? So
Yeah.
I think, and it's not like you need to start a YouTube channel even if you want to, because sometimes if you don't have like the pure motivation, that might just mean that like you don't love the process, right? Like I think that if you truly do love the process and it is really meant out for you, then you would have started already. Like you don't need to force yourself to do it.
So what was your first viral video?
First viral video, I think. Well, okay, like if we're talking about like viral, it's how to solve Rubik's Cube less than 5 seconds. But if we're talking like micro, like it's just like a small like my first little inclination of a little spike. It was when I reviewed the Yushin Fire back all the way in like 2016 or 2015. I'm not too sure, but yeah, like that cube, it was just a normal budget cube, but I think the reason why I did get a spike was because right when the cube was released, I bought it immediately. So I was like one of the first people to actually review that cube, and so that's naturally just gave me a peak. And so that's when I realized that if you're the first to review a cube, you're going to get like just a bigger traction than other people. So after that, every single cube that came out, especially if it was like a budget cube, I would try to be the very first person to actually unbox it, and that would work out really, really well. And I thought, if I'm able to get like those views, now I just need to work on my video quality, where then if I work on my video quality, then those views are actually going to translate to subscribers. So yeah, after I just continued trying to be the first person to review and unbox a cube.
So did that viral video affect your stats in any way? Like did it damage the channel? Did it help the channel?
The how to solve Rubik's Cube less 5 seconds one, or the like Yushin Fire?
I'd say both. Yeah,
I would say the Yushin Fire one helped me a lot, just because it was the content that I wanted to make on my channel already, and so at that point I was like, oh, let me just make more reviews, and it's going to like boost my subscribers, and that's kind of how I got like my first like 1,000, 2,000. The how to solve Rubik's Cube less than 5 seconds one, that one really just inflated my subscriber count like crazy and gave me like a ton of views. But the problem was that I had like all these subscribers, but I wasn't getting like the views that matched like my level of subscribers. So I had like, I basically was getting like 1,000 views per video after having 2,000 subscribers, and then after that video I had like maybe 10,000 subscribers, but I was still getting like the same amount of views, right? And so I think from that point on, it was kind of a process of, just catching my views up to like my subscribers. And it was kind of a process, but I have like no regrets for that video. Like I am so happy that video came out, just because, yeah, like obviously getting subscribers is a good thing, but also that video gave me like, the actual funds to invest in actual equipment. And so, yeah, like right when I got that video and right when it started like, getting some revenue, I invested straight back into equipment, getting like my first DSLR, getting like my first like, like softbox lighting, like first like white background, everything basically.
Okay, so you mentioned your YouTube gear that you invested in. So what is the typical Cubing Encoded setup?
So when it comes to vlogs, I use a Sony ZV-1 with a wide angle lens. Really, really great for vlogging. And so when it comes to my main camera, I have a Panasonic G7 with a Sigma 16mm f1.4 lens with a Rode VidMic Pro. So the entire setup for like my main gear is like $1,000. It's like pretty pricey.
Wow.
But like I really love like the video that comes out of that equipment.
Right, and what about the actual YouTube? So you record in your bedroom, is that right?
Yeah, I used to back when I was at home.
Oh, yep. What did it look like off camera, if you know what I mean?
Very unflattering. I would say it was literally just like my normal desk, and then I would just turn on the LED lights. I had a little lamp in front of me that was like pretty bright, and then so I just used one lamp, and then I didn't even use a tripod. I literally just put the camera and like rested it on like my AirPod case.
Alright.
So that's basically like my my YouTube setup for the longest time, and I mean honestly it still is my YouTube setup, and I was pretty happy with how it was. Like I used to have like this like super expensive tripod, and I used to like try getting like really expensive lighting and like get all these things, but then I realized when I was doing daily uploads, it wastes so much time like having this extremely accentuated camera setup, when it's just I put my camera over there, I press record, and I can start talking. It made the process so much quicker.
So you did daily uploads for a very long time. So my question is, what was your daily schedule like during those daily uploads?
So, okay, my daily schedule, when I had class, which was like, Monday to Friday, I would have around 5-6 hours of class. And then I would have maybe like 2 to 3 hours of classwork, as well as like club work that I needed to do. So like I was in this one club called Key Club or whatever. So that was also pretty intensive. And then afterwards, the rest of it would be for videos. So maybe like 5 to 6 hours for videos. And so I was basically just working throughout the entire day. So right when I finish class stuff and school, I do videos. And right when I finish videos, I go to sleep. Not very healthy for myself, right? Like it didn't give me any time to like socialize, exercise. It gave me like a little bit of time to eat and a little bit of time to like rest throughout the day. But at that point, like my only rest was when I was sleeping, right? So It was very, very intensive for those 5 months, I would say.
So I mean, it was super intensive for you. So my question is like, why daily uploads in the first place?
I think part of it was being stubborn, right? Like I think I give myself a goal. I give myself a goal of like, you know what, like you're going to do daily uploads and you're going to stick to it. And it was really just a test of like how much discipline I had. And also it was part of it was just the motivation of wanting to hit 100,000 subscribers. I think those two things, wanting to be disciplined versus also wanting to hit this, goal that I've been thinking about for the past 6 years, really was what pushed me throughout the entire thing. And yeah, it was very, very intensive. I think that there was like so many nights where I was getting like, 3-4 hours of sleep. It was just not healthy in general, like staying up until like 3 a.m. so I could just click on the publish button, go to sleep, wake up at 7, go to school, and then start the process all over again. I could talk on and on and on about it, but it was just a lot of work. But I think at the same time as well, like I loved doing YouTube, right? Like I absolutely loved it. I was like living my dream of like being like finally doing YouTube stuff. Sure, it was very, very stressful and really, really busy.
Yeah.
But I was really proud of myself for being able to stick with it for as long as I did and hit my goal at the end of the day. And I think I could like reference that back as a point where, I was able to put 100% of like everything I had into like a creative endeavor. And honestly, like what a blessing, right? Because I think that it's just a huge blessing for me to be able to, put in all my time into something as passionate about which was YouTube basically. So I found it so much fun at the same time.
So why did you think it was that daily uploads that would hit you that milestone? Like compared to making like super high production videos every month, for example?
Yeah.
Why was it videos every single day?
I think I wanted a way to differentiate myself, right? It was during quarantine, and so there was just a lot of, obviously people just didn't really have much to do at the home, and so I think that one of the most special things I've been able to hear throughout this competition from people, and I've heard this from like dozens of people at this point, is that, they were able to kind of incorporate me into like their quarantine, schedule. And so every single day throughout the quarantine, they were able to watch a Cubing Encoded video, and that's something that honestly really resonated with me. It's something that I thought, I could keep like very, very consistent. And like this is something that I just want to be able to maintain. I think another part of it as well is, when I was uploading every single day, right when I missed a day, all of a sudden the subscribers and like the views would just drop. And so that's why I was like, okay, like if I don't want it to drop, I need to keep on uploading again and again and again, or else all of a sudden my channel's gonna die, which definitely is a very like unhealthy mindset.
It is.
But that was just the mindset I had. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't think I was mature enough back then to do daily uploads. I think that like I definitely let it get too much to my head, where it was honestly like the only thing I thought about for the longest time. I mean, straight up, like I was not living a very healthy lifestyle during that time. Like I wasn't exercising, I wasn't really talking to friends, I wasn't really doing things that you would call healthy for a 17-year-old kid. And I just didn't really have a good balance of life, right? But it's what got me to where I wanted, and so part of me is like, a little bit I would say bittersweet about the time period where, it's bitter just because I knew that it wasn't a very, happy time, or it wasn't a very healthy time, but it's also something that I'm really proud of achieving.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a weird relationship with that.
Did you ever feel like any of your closer family or friends were like worried about you? Like you're putting too much effort into something that might not get you what you want,
I think my close friend, like I have this like one super close friend. I basically talked to him like throughout the entire time, and so he is honestly like what kind of kept me sane throughout it, because I was actually able to like at least articulate my thoughts about the entire thing with someone else. That was honestly what kept me sane. I think like my parents, they saw me like super passionate about it, and for them it's like if they see me like wanting to do something and passionate about something, they're going to let me do it. They're never going to push me to do something or try to like hold me back. It's honestly just my own pace, and that's something I was like really, really grateful for. So I was able to really just like do it. But yeah, it was tough just because there was like there were just people that I didn't really get to talk to during that time. Going into that like 5-month time period, I just got into a relationship, but then all of a sudden, because I was like so obsessed with YouTube, then it just didn't work out, where like I was just like too focused on it to really like put an effort into the relationship, which was like just completely stupid on my end. But I don't know, it was just not a very healthy time period overall, right?
I mean, like, you mentioned that you skipped a day, right? What was the reasoning behind that? Like, did you not have the video ready, or did you run out of ideas, or what was it?
Yeah, like I think in the 5-month time period, I skipped a couple days, maybe like 3 to 4, right, at max. And those days, it was either when I had like an AP test on that day. AP test is like advanced placement in the US. Like it's kind of like what helps us get into college. So if I had an advanced placement test that day, that was like a 3-hour test, I would maybe hold off on uploading. Or if I were just completely burnt out one day and I just like really needed like a mental break, then I would also take a break. But I think for the last 2.5 months of like my daily upload schedule, I didn't miss a single day. So I think as I continued getting closer and closer, that's my motivation going up and up.
And I think a lot of Cubers were inspired by your daily uploads to actually make their own channels. Like, you're probably familiar with Kubrazin. He did a lot of time of daily uploads, I think, in inspiration of your channel as well.
Yeah, he actually told me about that, and he said, like I could do I want to do daily uploads also. I think I just kind of showed what's possible, right? Like, I think when it comes to like YouTube cubing, I've always like trying to take it with like the best work ethic possible, just because growing up I was like a swimmer. I swam like every single day for like 3 hours, and so it was like an everyday grind. And once quarantine started, I didn't really be able to do swimming, and so I kind of replaced that like everyday grind with YouTube instead of swimming, right?
So you mentioned your motivation to get into YouTube was like the flashy aspects. Was one of those sponsorships or like getting cubes?
Yeah, I was getting sponsorships and cubes, yeah.
So talk us through like your first sponsorship, the SpeakCube Shop sponsorship.
So my very first sponsorship, so it actually wasn't with SpeakCube Shop, it was with another cube store. I think it was just like, I don't really exactly remember which cube store it was, but they just said, hey, well, we have this 4x4, we're going to send it to you. And so that was like my very first ever free cube.
Right.
And so that was a very surreal moment, just because when I come from like a very like low income background, and so growing up I wasn't really able to like buy too many cubes, and so that's kind of the motivation of me wanting to get cubes, because I felt really bad if I was asking my parents to always like buy me these petty little cubes. So I wanted to be able to at least make this part of my life self-sustaining. And that's kind of the motivation for why I wanted a sponsorship, So
how did you go about getting your sponsorship as you do now with SpeakCube Shop?
So nowadays, it's just a pretty casual system, right? So I've been with them for like 5 years at this point. So it's kind of just like whenever I want a cube, I'll hit them up and they could send it over. And in return, they're in the link of every single one of my videos. I promote them in most videos, and yeah, they're just like my main supporter. And they've honestly have been amazing, just because, when I was like super into YouTube and growing super hard, they were going super hard with me, right?
Yeah.
Supporting all of my monthly giveaways, with a $100 gift card every single month. Like I reached out to them every single month, like, oh yeah, I need a new giveaway, I need a new gift card, I need a new gift card. So thank you, Veronica. But and like just sending me all the cubes I ever needed. Like, even if it was like a big request, like a $200 like 12x12 for example, they would just send it over because they knew that I was going all in with it. And now that I'm not doing YouTube as often, right? Like, they're much more like like it's a lower maintenance relationship now.
Yeah.
So they kind of like track my energy, and they're very very forgiving of like whether or not I want to be more active, less active, and it's a really just like healthy like partnership at this point where there's that trust now.
Did they first reach out to you, or did you reach out to them?
I first reached out to them, sent Cameron like a long email saying that like, oh yeah, like these are my goals with YouTube. This is where I want to go. This is how many subscribers I have. And like, if you sponsor me, I want to do this, and this. I just sent like a really long email, and honestly, I don't think I needed to do that. I think I just could have just emailed him being like, I would love to like request a sponsorship program or whatever. What's up? And I think I would have gotten the same result. But yeah, I sent a pretty long email to Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like young cubers like asking companies for free cubes. So what tips would you give to them for a cubing sponsorship?
I would say, I mean, free cubes is a valid motivation for wanting to do YouTube. And so I'll say if you really want that, I think that first off you need the numbers, right? So I'd say around 2,000 subscribers, 3,000 subscribers. I'm not too sure exactly what the scene is like now, but back in the day that's about what you needed to get at least some basic level sponsorship. And then afterwards, yeah, just like continue growing, and as you grow, the store is going to grow, and like it should be mutual, right? Like you're not trying to just get cubes just for the sake of you getting cubes and not getting anything in return. It is a business at the end of the day, and so you have to be able to show your worth and say that, hey, like this is how I'm going to integrate your cube store into my video. I'm going to share your store and your link in this way. Maybe I could use a discount code so I could get a better CTR. Just in general, you have to be able to show your worth. But I think like on the topic of like cube sponsorships in general, I will say this, which is that like once you finally do get sponsored and you finally are getting free cubes, you very quickly get desensitized to the idea of getting free cubes. And so I mean, when I first started, I was like super like, oh my gosh, like getting free cubes is going to be like an incredible feeling. I'm literally going to be so happy. Like unboxing a cube, it's going to be like Christmas every single weekend. Whereas in reality, maybe it was like that for the first few weeks, but very, very quickly I got very desensitized to, new cubes, just because I didn't really feel like the inherent value in it anymore. Like at this point, sometimes I even get cubes and I just don't open them, which I know sounds like crazy for some people, but yeah, like sometimes Future just like sends over puzzles and I'm like, okay, I'm going to open it like later. And I never end up opening it, like not even like unboxing it on a video, just like not even opening it.
Wow.
So yeah, I have like unopened cubes at my house that I should probably get to, but I just haven't yet.
Yeah. So what moved you away from cube reviews? So you did a lot of cube reviews unboxing. So why is it that you're not doing as many now?
I think so the transition happened around 2019, where I went from like cube reviews to more just commentary in general, and I think what caused it was I found just like my love for YouTube like slowly dipping, and I think the reason why was because when I was doing these cube reviews and unboxings, the focus was all on like the cube, right? It was all about the cube. It was all like showcasing its features. But as a content creator, I wanted to be able to show my personality and just like show like who I was to the world. And so that's kind of why I switched from cube reviews to commentary. And once I started doing that and showing my personality a little bit more, being more confident, more myself in front of the camera, I think that's when I started uploading more because I loved it more. The videos got better because it was just more entertaining, and the channel just did start succeeding from that point on.
So you mentioned your daily uploads is towards 100k subs.
Yeah.
So what was your feeling like when it was on 999,999? I was just about to hit that 100k. Oh no, wait, I messed up. 99,999. I messed up my maths there. So what was your feeling when you were just about to hit that 100k milestone?
I cried. Like I basically had all my friends on like a Discord with me as I was screen sharing. I had like my family all behind me as I was recording this reaction, and right when I hit it, honestly, like one of the greatest moments of my life. I think it was just like 5 months, or not even 5 months, but like 5 years of just like hard work compounded. And especially towards the end, I was literally just thinking about YouTube every single day, uploading, like just working like 8 hours a day with this YouTube channel. And so when I finally hit it, it was just like a huge wave of emotions that hit me, saying that like you can do this, like if you put your mind to something, you actually could achieve these things. And it honestly was just like a life-changing moment. Like hitting a goal honestly just boosts you with so much more confidence, because now if I could do this, I feel so much more confident of goals in the future that I want to hit, and I just know that it's possible, even if it seems impossible when I first start.
So how did you celebrate your 100k?
I celebrate by taking a break. I basically just took I think about a month off, where like I was working on a big like 100k special, but for the most part I was just like being able to like fully just break away from YouTube for a little bit, focus on my own stuff, start exercising more, start going out with my friends, and honestly just enjoying my life finally, just because I was putting so much work into YouTube. I was finally able to relax. It was during COVID, and so I think that if it wasn't for COVID, I would have like held like a big party at my house with a bunch of like close friends that had like a 100K cake or whatever. But yeah, it was quarantine, so I was mostly just staying inside and just, you know, tons of my friends FaceTimed me, did a little photo shoot, had like a bunch of my friends like texting me, congratulating me. It was honestly an amazing moment.
Nice. So let's talk about the business side of Cubing Encoded.
Fun.
Okay. So I'd assume you make revenue on YouTube.
For sure.
Yeah. Are you allowed to say how much?
Enough.
I mean, you could say it and I can censor it out of the video.
I think it came to a point, you don't have to censor this, I think it got to a point where if I were to just not go to college and just do YouTube full time, I would be able to like live comfortably and like sustain for myself. Yeah.
Okay, so is there like a specific figure, would you say, that you earn per month or something?
At my peak, I was getting maybe, and you can censor this part out.
Yeah, I'll censor this part.
I was getting like maybe like a month, and like honestly, like when it comes to like certain like moments, I got like dollars from a day of work, basically, from YouTube at one point.
Wow. So technically, so why haven't you gone full time yet?
I think that with YouTube, just like the lifestyle that it was kind of giving me like long term, it was just really, really stressful. Like, you know, I think that while I was like, I could be financially free, doing my own thing, not having to work for someone else, there always was like that ever looming stress of like, if you like just had like a bad week, like your channel is over, and like all of a sudden there goes your source of revenue. And I also think that part of it was just because, you know, when college decisions did come out, I was kind of considering taking a gap year just so I could focus on YouTube, but then I ended up getting into like my dream school, which was like Berkeley Haas, and like I just found it to be like too good of an opportunity to pass up. And so yeah, when going to college, going the recruiting route, probably going to try going into like consulting or something like that, just like your overall, I guess, you know, business student, casual corporate world. But you know, I think it's something that does excite me quite a bit, just because I think the opportunities out there are really, really good. And I think long term I would want to do something more entrepreneurial as well.
I mean, at the same time, you've kind of you're basically trying to secure your future and get like a nice secure job.
Exactly.
But the idea of full-time YouTube is still there on the sideline if you ever feel like, you know, jumping onto it.
Yeah, I know it's definitely a possibility, like forever. And I think that like I could definitely see a situation where where I am working full time, I could just definitely do YouTube on the side during my off time. I think that right now it's just been difficult to focus on YouTube just because, you know, I'm basically prepping everything for the future. And so right now, like I'm doing a lot of like internship recruiting, right? And so if I make a video, that's basically time taken out that I could have spent doing something else, right?
Yeah.
So whenever I make a video, like now that I'm in college, I'm either losing out on, you know, like time to study, or time to like work on club stuff, time to socialize with friends, or time to sleep. Like something gets lost, and so it just makes it really, really hard to fit into my schedule where it feels worthwhile, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm still losing something, whereas, you know, once I'm working full time, I really have nothing to lose at that point, right? It's just kind of what I want to do for myself. So I can definitely see myself having a return like later down the road, but no promises.
Have you ever thought about like outsourcing some of your like YouTube energy, if you will? Like, you obviously you're doing the thumbnails, you're doing the editing, you're doing the pre-production, you're recording. Have you ever thought about like maybe recording a video and then sending it off to someone else to edit, and then they send it you back? That way you're enjoying the actual production of the video, but then you're giving someone else the boring stuff.
No, because that editing is the fun part for me. That's the part I love about it.
Okay.
The part I don't like about is brainstorming. That's like the most stressful, the most annoying part of like doing videos for me. Brainstorming an idea and finally finding an idea. That and thumbnails. But for thumbnails, even though I don't like doing it, it's something that I need to have like creative like freedom over, just because, you know, it's so easy to give it to someone else and they just don't understand, you know, what works well on your channel, and for them to make a very like corporatized or just like, you know, an aesthetic but not I guess like CTR friendly thumbnail, right?
Yeah, so I assume the dream for you would be if someone was out there just like feeding you with ideas and like creative decisions and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's why on my Instagram I was always asking for video ideas.
Yeah.
I just said, oh yeah, drop down if you want, like, you know, to like have your video idea featured or whatever. But in reality, that was just me, you know, desperately scraping for ideas from my audience. And so for anyone, you guys who, you know, slip up my story and, you know, just gave me some video ideas, I appreciate you very, very much, because it helped so much.
Yeah. And I feel like a good idea for other people who are stuck for video ideas is just to check out other channels' YouTube comments and stuff like that, because people are always giving suggestions
Exactly.
for what videos to make. Even in like the Q&A type videos, there's always questions being unanswered by the channel because there's so many comments.
I agree, and I also think that like there's so many strategies I was using, right? Sometimes I'll just wake up and just like go on my laptop and just open up YouTube and just scroll through YouTube and just jot down anything I had. Other times I'll just like open up a random word generator and then just like have that like pique my interest. So sometimes like I remember one time I went on a random word generator and it gave me the word ketchup, and so I thought, what if I just try looping a cube with ketchup? And so I made it into a video idea. Honestly, it wasn't the best idea, but that's kind of how you have to do it sometimes. So yeah, that's how I got looping a cube with ketchup.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I think that's an idea that Mr. Beast used to come up with some of his ideas.
I believe so, yeah.
He'd like scroll through a dictionary, open it up on a random page, get a word, and then just like churn out these ideas. But I feel like coming up with ideas is like like building a muscle. Like the more you do it, the better you get at it. That's what I feel like.
I definitely feel like that's the case, and I also think that like sometimes I feel like I have no ideas. Like I think that I've exhausted every single cubing video idea ever, but then 60 days later and I've come up with 60 more ideas, right? So you always feel like you're kind of on like that final like wall of like this is the last one, and then you do another one, then you do another one, and then you look back and realize that wall was never there, right?
All right. So we actually releasing a podcast called 100 Cubing Video Ideas. So we're just giving away 100 free cubing video ideas for anyone to use. So that's gonna be coming out soon, hopefully. But yeah, a little plug there. YouTube is constantly changing. I'm aware you're not too up to date with how cubing YouTube looks, but are you ever worried about not being able to keep up with the ever-changing nature of the YouTube meta?
I think when my entire heart is into YouTube, I will never have any hesitations on whether or not I'm actually keeping up, just because, when I was doing daily uploads, I was kind of the one like pushing like the meta in cubing of kind of like transitioning more towards like general videos and like kind of taking like Mr. Beast isms into cubing. And so I think that when my entire like heart and like soul is into YouTube, I'll always be like completely up to date and I'll always know exactly what's going on. Now that I'm not really like too into YouTube, I'm definitely like, I'm a little bit of a boomer. I don't really know too much of what's going on YouTube so much. So yeah, I'm definitely not too up to date, but I know that if I put my entire heart into it, I could catch up like just like that,
I mean, like, let's say you woke up one day and you had 0 new views, 0 new subscribers. How would you react to that?
Ooh, that'd be interesting, just because at that point, I mean, with YouTube, I feel like I've done everything I've ever wanted to do with it, right? I think when I first started, my goal was to hit 10,000 subscribers. Like that was like my big goal, and then I was able to surpass that 24 times, right? I thought, I want to do this YouTube channel, and like maybe this could look good on my college application. I was able to get into my dream college because of YouTube primarily, right? So. And I was also able to, use YouTube money to like pay for my college tuition, use it to like pay for like every one of my expenses over the past like 5 years. I've honestly been able to get everything out of YouTube that I could have ever dreamed of. So I'm happy with what I've done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if let's say you had a video that really tanked, like it didn't get that many views, would you continue to make those kinds of videos, or would you ever pivot based on how a video performs?
I think if you're talking to me 2 years ago, right when a video does badly, bam, I need to pivot and like try to make a new video idea and like really try changing that. I think now I'm kind of in a point in my life that when I make a video, it's just purely out of the enjoyment of it, and the views and numbers I'm honestly have really disassociated from, and it's like honestly like the least important thing now when I make a video. Now it's just like convenience, whether or not it's going to be a good video and whether or not the motivation's there, right?
I mean, like, given you've uploaded over 400 videos now, you kind of know what's good and what's not. You probably built that inside of your head, that YouTube algorithm, if you will.
Definitely not. It's interesting. Even YouTubers with like millions of subscribers, they talk about how, sometimes it feels like they know exactly how YouTube works, and then all of a sudden they have no idea what the hell is going on, right? Like I know Captain Sparkles, like sometimes I saw Captain Sparkles video just a couple like months ago, and he was like, just when I thought I understood YouTube, I don't anymore, and then he was talking about how he just got a random spike out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
So I think that although people love to act like they know that, or like act like they know how YouTube works, no one really knows how YouTube works, and everyone's trying to just, doing whatever works in the moment, right? So yeah, I could generally say I understand the YouTube algorithm a little bit more than how much I did 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago, but not that much.
What are your predictions on cubing YouTube in 5 years?
Ooh, I think right now Cubing YouTube is kind of in a place where it's more so like independent creators, filming themselves and filming the puzzles. But I think in 5 years' time, it'll transition more towards getting a bunch of people towards it, right? Like I can definitely see a situation where 5 years time, the videos where it's like, maybe like 50 guys with 50 girls and like cubing race or whatever, kind of like more like Mr. Beast-esque things where like just in general, the videos are higher production, involve more people, have a lot more planning behind it. I definitely see that as like a realistic possibility. And I think that's something that could definitely be achieved. And I also think that another aspect of it, just more towards, adventurous content, right? Like, I think that right now, most cubers, when they make content, they kind of stay in their room. And I think I would love to see, cubing go outside the bedroom sometimes and, incorporate the world in general.
Yeah, like a lot of the content we made today was kind of interacting with people in the real world, because I feel like a lot of people don't do that. But yeah, we're trying to hopefully push for that kind of content and not just in your like bubble of a studio just recording stuff in your room.
Exactly, yeah. I didn't even leave my room for like 200 videos basically when I was doing daily uploads anyways, so but I would definitely like to see that pushed, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Do you watch cubing shorts or TikToks?
I keep up with it a little bit. I know Cube Raisin's really, really good at it. I know there's another guy that has like 1 million at this point. My friend met him at like a convention and like he had like 1 million subscribers. I forgot what his name is.
Is it Soup Timmy?
My friend met him. Yeah. My friend was like
Timmy.
chatting with Soup Timmy. Yeah, like it's like completely new aspect of YouTube that I'm just not really too familiar with, and I don't really understand too much. But props to whoever is doing that. I think personally it's not my cup of tea, just because I find YouTube Shorts like YouTube Shorts views, like TikTok views, as kind of like vanity views, if per se. Just because I think that it doesn't really create a relationship with the creator. I don't think it really creates long-term impact on the audience. So that's kind of why I call it vanity views. But not to say it's anything bad. I think there's a time and place for YouTube Shorts, and sometimes instead of watching a video, I just want to lay down and just scroll through a bunch of shorts. So it's all good at the end of the day.
I mean, there was a story of a TikToker who set up a meet and greet at a certain event. I think it was like VidCon or something, and not many people showed up. She had like several million followers, but she had barely anyone show up to a convention. So it's like it gives you a false sense of security, I think, where you see yourself with like 10 million followers on TikTok, but how engaged are those followers? That's the main thing.
Exactly, right. And I know like a YouTuber, for example, with like 200,000 subscribers, he was a gaming YouTuber, hold like a little like gaming meetup in like a certain like room and got like 100 people just like spend an entire day like playing games together, right? So even though the number's smaller, the relationship is so much closer, and it actually gets people out of the room, right? And people out of the house because they feel like they know him and they want to meet him.
I mean, how would you suggest cubing shorts creators or TikTokers would build that relationship with the viewers in the same way long form videos do?
This could definitely be a very like invalid opinion, but it's my opinion, which is that it's just not really the nature of YouTube Shorts and like short form content, right? I don't think for example, right? Like, let's say you met like I was just going around and like I was at a little networking event and I talked to each person for like a minute, right? Am I going to retain any like close relationship with any of those people? Definitely not. Whereas if I sit down with you right now and like chat for like talk for an hour or whatever, I feel like you know me, I know you, and there's actually like a relationship that's built off there, right? So if I met someone for a minute and all of a sudden like the next day I ask, we met each other, can you like help me out with something? They're probably not going to help me out because they don't know me. Whereas if I talk to someone for a full hour, got to really know them, the next day I ask, can you help me out with something? Yeah, let me help you out, just because there's that relationship. So it's kind of the same thing with views, with YouTube. Long form content, you feel like you know the person, you're more inclined to support them. Short form content, it's just the nature of short form content, right?
I mean, it makes really good reaction content though, YouTube Shorts. I feel like you can probably scroll through a feed for like hours and just react to that kind of content. You were the first YouTuber, I would say, to push cubing reaction videos. How successful did you expect them to be, and did they meet up to your expectations?
Yeah, I knew that they were going to do pretty well. I think it was a part of cubing YouTube that just wasn't explored at all, but in the general landscape of YouTube in general, like, it was super popular, right? Like, PewDiePie was making reaction videos, getting like millions and millions of views. There was tons of just like reaction videos in general that were like, and commentary videos that were just popping off, right? And it was like a niche within cubing that was completely just not touch at all, right? So yeah, that's when I decided to do some cubing reaction videos, and the first couple, once I saw the trends, like it started doing really, really well right from the get-go, and I thought, this is like a lot of content I could do, and it's like relatively easy to do. It engages people like it, and I like making them, and so I just kept on going with it.
Yeah, I mean, especially in your daily uploads where you feel like you might have been stuck for ideas, it's a repeatable concept, so you can just do it again and again and again.
Yeah, to an extent, right? Like, of course, like you have to keep things like new and fresh after a while, right? Like you can't just keep on doing it over and over and like, continue people to keep on watching. But as long as I kept on having like small modifications and kept on like upping the game a little bit, I could keep on doing reaction videos for a while.
Fair enough. So did you ever like come across any haters of Cubing Encoded?
Yeah, 100%. It was mostly during my daily upload phase, and there was a very fast speed cuber, not going to name his name, but he's very, very good, holds multiple world records, and he was on Twitch basically just like talking about cubing channels in general for like 50 minutes,
Yeah.
and I think around 30 of those minutes of that 50 was basically just talking about how my channel was a little bit problematic just in terms of, I don't even know what he said, but it was basically just like, I think one was that I'm a very casual cuber, and so I was kind of like putting that casual mindset onto like my viewers of like maybe like dismissing certain events, or like seeing like certain like clock, for example, as like dumb or whatever, just like kind of like the casual cuber like mentality. And then he also like didn't really like think that a lot of like my videos were just good in general. Like he thought they were like very like short and like shoddily made. Yeah, it was an interesting one. Yeah, it was just interesting in general, I guess.
It was, yeah. I think I saw that pan out, but how did that affect you as a creator?
I think as a creator, I definitely wanted to shift a little bit. Like I think after that point, I took away, I thought some of his comments were pretty invalid. Like I think that it's completely fine to be a casual cuber, and so I kept very true to that one. Whereas when it comes to, yes, like sometimes my thumbnails were too embellished, sometimes my videos were just 2 minutes long and it was just like a little reaction video, and that's not my best work, right? And so I definitely think that, the months after that, I was, consistently making what I would call my best work, and I definitely made me more cognizant of the level of quality that I wanted to be able to put out consistently, and it did help my channel. Now I'd say like personally, like as a person, like seeing someone like basically crap on your channel like on public, and having like a bunch of people agree with him, it was definitely tough, just because this is something I was putting like my heart and soul into, and so it was especially annoying seeing people like kind of criticize like what I was doing and saying that like I was just spending like 30 minutes filming myself like react to a video, editing it in like 15 minutes and uploading it, when they don't even know the process that was going into it. They didn't even know the hours and hours of work I was putting to YouTube. They didn't even know the sacrifices I made for it. But that's just the internet, right? And I think that I was 17, I was young, so it definitely got to my head a little bit, but at this point in my life it doesn't really get to my head at all.
I mean, were there any haters? Like, you were quite established at that point, so it probably didn't affect you as heavily, I guess, but when you're smaller, I guess the hate probably hits you a bit harder, I guess, maybe.
I would say I guess like I wouldn't really be able to comment on that, just because I didn't really get any hate going up, like as I was on the upswing. No hate at all. Right when I started becoming more established, that's when I started getting some hate here and there. And I think it was interesting, just because once you are established, people kind of have that expectation of you of like, oh yeah, like, like, why is it like the biggest cubing like one of the biggest cubing YouTubers now is like of like lower quality? And this might be an immature mindset, but I think when I was at that point of reading those comments, I was like, I wasn't just put here like and as one of the biggest cubing YouTubers for no reason. Like I wasn't just like spawned here and like all of a sudden I'm a big channel. Like I'm here for a reason. I worked really, really hard, and so if you're not happy with like what the biggest YouTube cubers are doing, then like replace me, right? It's like just like build a channel of your own, pass me, and if you want to be like that representation that you want, then I'll just say beat me, right? So that was just kind of my mindset, and it was definitely a little bit more of a toxic mindset, but it was the mindset that I had, and honestly it was a little bit unhealthy, but I think there's some validity to it.
Let's talk about the future of Cubing Encoded, and then
Okay.
we'll wrap it up. So you've probably hit most of your like major YouTube goals. You had 100k in mind when you started. You've hit 100k. What's like the YouTube check boxes that you have that you haven't hit yet?
I really don't think there's any, honestly. I think I've hit every single thing. I think when I first started YouTube, I've basically been able to do everything I wanted to do with it and more. And I'm really, really at peace with what I've been able to do with YouTube. I would say the only thing that I would maybe want to experiment a little bit is doing something maybe either outside of cubing or something where I could maybe do YouTube more as like a full-time thing, right?
Yeah.
But I think that those are two like extremely, I mean, when it comes to doing things outside of cubing, that's just something that will come with time, and like, you know, like maybe like when I have the free time, I'll like finally be able to dedicate towards it. But being able to make it a living, that's something that's like way in the future. And so honestly, I am like so at peace with where I am with YouTube at this point. And now it's more so onto like other ambitions and, you know, other passions that I really want to reach, right?
So that was our interview with Cubing Encoded. Click over here to go to his channel and over here to follow our Clips channel. Peace.